watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I'm your host, John, and this week we are talking Survivor 48, let's say, episode, let's call it 7. I did think it would be fitting this week, given how the challenge was so focused on like the shit talking, that we just have two of the best to ever do it. And so that's why I just want to welcome my sidekick, Andy. Welcome to the podcast. I mean, it's got to be an honor to you to be graced by my presence again. I just wanted
trying to think of a duo where the sidekick is the one that does all the talking.
Is it like Penn and Teller? Is that a thing?
I feel like the silent one is the sidekick.
Yeah,
I feel like Gromit is the sidekick. I don't know. In comments, hit me off. Is there one where the main character barely talks? And no, I mean, I think the brain is the main character.
Well, but I mean, it's Pinky and the brain, so you would assume, it leads with Pinky.
Just like we lead with
me hosting.
Yeah.
See, I mean,
we'll have to see how, like, when we redo our logo, where our names go.
That's true.
It would be the endless negotiation where at some point it's like one name would be on top, but the other one would be more left justified, and be like, that's us. We should redo the logo, though. Because
we should. The best part is that I'll just pay for it, and then I can put my name wherever the fuck I want it.
But our current logo says three things on it, and we don't do two of them.
That's true.
So,
the one.
But what we do
technically exist anymore
is we talk about this show.
We
Survivor,
do
on a podcast.
Eventually, I mean, we get around to that at times. So let's start with: did you like this week's episode?
I'm going to say yes. I enjoyed it. I mean, the result was, if I were going to pick something, like two things that I wanted to happen, I got them. So yes, good episode.
Yep. That was basically it for me. It was a solid episode of Survivor. There was some fun little bits in there. Chalk ass vote, which is actually totally fine, as you mentioned.
Fantastic.
Considering who we cut.
2 of them.
Yep. Let's go Chalk. That was
Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk.
That's right. That's how it should have gone. Particularly once we, saw how the tribe split out there, or the teams split out there, or groups, whatever he chooses to call them when he splits them up that way. So also, speaking of, how'd you feel about how they split those groups up?
Great. Perfect.
So my one complaint, which obviously random draw, whatever, right? But we nearly had one of those scenarios that I dread, where everyone I like is on one tribe, right? Mm-hmm. If it weren't for Cedrek being there, I could have lost someone I enjoyed. Or, if Cedrek had won immunity, which, we'll get to it later, but that was not really...
Wait, in the time that you tried to say that sentence.
Yeah, he's already lost the challenge. Obviously, never really a threat in this particular challenge. But,
or any of them.
Yeah, that's very true. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, when you think back on it, I can kind of see why Cedrek's tribe lost a lot of those early immunities. You know?
There was a constant.
Yeah.
I mean, as we discussed earlier in the season, it was ridiculously imbalanced, that tribe anyway.
Yeah.
But, he was also clearly a lodestone. I mean, these tribes, groups, whatever, each had somebody that was easily disposable, and, they did the job. But, in general, what do you feel about, when the show keeps doing this, right? We get not a merge, and then great, you're merged, and now we're going to split you up so that you don't actually have a true merge vote. We had that again. How do you feel about that?
I think, I don't want to say I'd prefer it be this way. I'm just going to assume, given the range of options that we've had in the post 40 era, the available things that they could be doing. I don't want 9 people not to be able to vote, right? I don't want there only to be able to be like 3 or 4 people you can vote for. Like, so given all those different options, I mean, I guess this one is the least objectionable. Like, again, it's a matter of chance if you're going to get a tribe where you're like, ah, shit, there's going to be someone good that goes home here. But on the other hand, you know, when you have giant votes, but you can only vote for, 4 people because everyone else is immune, that kind of sucks. So, yeah, I mean, given that choice, if I can't pick my ideal, then yeah, this is the best of some bad options.
Yeah, for me, like process, not results. I don't like it. I wish they'd just knock it off. I think there are more elegant ways to do a double vote than to not give us everybody voting. However, how I really feel about it in any given season is just directly proportional to how I feel about the people who are screwed by the randomness of the swaps. So, if it's Caleb winding up with no options and all that is horrible, they need to get rid of it. If it's like this week, oh my God, we got rid of the 2 people I most wanted to leave the game. Fantastic. Let's do this all the time. Like, just completely economical. Earlier the better. Last season when Rachel's screwed by it, but then is saved by last minute ex machina. It's like, hey, that's fine. Okay, so that's all it is. It's like it bothers me when it screws over people I would wish to continue in the game, and I find it quite pleasant when it just is an expedient way to eliminate people that I would like to see eliminated.
Yeah.
That said, we should point out, as been pointed out by like other fan communities and stuff, there's been a disturbing trend.
Oh yeah. Which is funny,
and which this episode very much continued.
It did, and I was thinking, after seeing that list, I was like, yeah, but this time I really wanted those 2 to go.
Yeah.
I don't remember necessarily the situations. That's the thing is, some of these, I mentioned, I think, last week when we were talking about like merge boots generally being memorable, like I have not generally remembered these double boot episodes very well because I'm looking at the boot lists and I'm going,
I didn't know it at all until it was pointed out. And so like, this is radio, we should know it. Like for most of these, like a great majority of them, either one or very often both of the people voted out when we have 2 tribes going to vote out have been black.
Right.
And in fact, one of the times where it was missed when Tori was voted out, it's because I believe somebody, a black contestant, was immune. Otherwise, it would have gone that way. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. That's really tough. And this is the sort of thing that, like, within the diversity initiative, these types of votes have become less of an issue. It's the thing we talked about before. It's like, well, people of color will struggle less if there are more of them, right?
Yep.
And I think what ends up happening, and again, not every case, and I think maybe you could even look at every distinct case and eliminate maliciousness. It's certainly possible. But when you suddenly take a big group of people and then make them into 2 smaller groups of people, you might have less concentration of people of color, or again, in this specific, like it's specifically black people.
Right.
Now, in this case, like each tribe had like 2 black people plus a mixed race person in each, like half of the tribe. So, like, I think you can explain it away, but it's a disturbing trend, we'll just say.
Yeah. And like I said, in this case, I was like, no, but these are the right votes, though.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, and also, as you pointed out, it's a little different that it's happening now, right? Versus in the pre-40 seasons where you might have 2 black people in total on the cast. Yeah. Like that was much more glaring. And now when it's closer to half the cast, it's like, oh, okay. But then
but still, like like these numbers have all been in that era,
It is still pretty weird, right? Like, you can explain it away as like, oh, that could be coincidence, but man, it could also just be a pattern,
It's something worth noting, especially since in the past, when things like this have been noted and talked about in the fan community, because now the show draws from the fan community, there's been some corrections. So maybe next time they'd be like, hey, why is it that our first instinct is to vote out the black person?
Well, and it's as someone who frequently reads history, and then much more so of late American history.
I don't know if that exists anymore.
Well, it won't. That's why I'm trying to get in as much of my reading as I can now.
Sorry.
Yeah, but every time, every time you dig a little deeper into American history, it always comes back to the same certain issues, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's pretty depressing.
Yeah, I know. So often, it's apparent. It's the thing, right? The kids will ask you why things are. They are trying to understand the world, and we have so many years on them. And so often it's like racism. The answer is racism.
Right.
Why is it that way? Racism. Right. And then, there'll be things that we'll learn like, oh, I didn't even know that was racism. But yep, now that you say it, it makes sense.
Right. And I remember like at some point not too long ago, for some reason, homeowners associations came up, and I'm like, I mean, I should look up why those started. And I was like, before I even do this, I feel like I already know. And of course I was right.
Yeah.
If I gave it a half second of thought and then I finally did, I'm like, yeah, of course that's going to be why.
Yeah. No, like we were talking about rule changes in the NBA just yesterday. And my son was asking, like, how does it change? It's like, oh, yeah, there was a time when they banned dunking.
Yeah.
Guess why? Racism.
Right. Yeah.
Bunch of white guys were tired of watching other white guys getting dunked on by Kareem.
Yep.
So instead, he just developed the most unstoppable
also,
shot.
I should clarify that because we have a very international audience. I don't know that homeowners associations are things outside of America, but it's essentially like it's the weirdest form of like if you allowed the creepiest people, the like creepiest loners with no lives in your neighborhood or apartment complex or wherever it might be to be in charge in some way. It's that. That's exactly
of the home that you own. Like, think about it, like you have you have an apartment, and you have to follow rules because the building is owned by somebody. Same as the condo, but no, like homes.
Yeah,
and somebody that like lives in your neighborhood could be like, you can't do that to your home,
right? Like you could. It doesn't matter either. You could have an extremely expensive house. It's not related. Like you're thinking, oh, maybe this is a thing they inflict on poor people. No, you could have like a $2 million house, and they're going to have some people in there with super petty rules. Like, hey, is that flag that you're displaying outside, is it more than 3.5 feet long? That's against the rules. You're going to have to pay a fine. Like, what the fuck? Just, again,
what I don't know, because I do not have one. I live in a very old community. And again, I think they are a thing around here, but I'm not sure. Never been encountered. Or what? What's what power do they have for?
Oh, this is where it gets fun. So let's say you decide, hey, go fuck yourself. I'm not paying your fine. They can foreclose on your house. Yes, the HOA can say, actually, now your house is ours. This is a real
crazy
actual thing
in
that
a
can happen
country
in
that like is so obsessed with like ownership and property law, but they care about racism that much more.
They do. Yep.
Which is not crazy at all. Look at what's going on.
That's what I'm saying. As soon as you like read into it, you're like, it was such an obvious conclusion. Why didn't I think of it before I started reading?
Yeah.
So, hey,
anyway,
remember we were talking about Survivor.
I mean, again, it's just it's pertinent. You know, like the numbers when I saw the post, it's like, I'll be honest, had not noticed at all. Like it was obviously a thing in one season, I believe it was 42 or something. The numbers all blend where like the two black women both played their idols because they're like, it's not going to be us, right? Marianne and I can't remember the other one. Otherwise, it would have been a black person in that vote as well. So, something to note. Yep. That said, I'm happy it happened this time.
This time, just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that we've gotten those votes out of the way, how are you feeling about the rest of the season?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like this episode, I don't like it wasn't super dynamic. I know there's at least one commenter waiting for us to say it was okay or mid, but no, we're saying it's solid.
Yeah, solid.
We enjoyed it.
Yep.
It's because but despite that, like there wasn't a whole lot. in the end. I think the show did an awesome job of adding doubt to what seemed to at least be one pretty obvious vote. I didn't have a lot of doubt in the first vote, but the second one, I actually did think it might be Shauhin. And in fact, like as the tribal council was going, it felt like Kamilla was doing a really bad poker face job. Like she'd like bust out and smiling when Sheen's talking, like, oh, they're voting his ass out. No. So good on the show for doing that. I think there's a lot of fun editing in different segments. But it was not like a suspense-filled or, event-filled episode. But I still really liked it because I'm loving this pattern of let's get rid of these otherwise useless players. We got rid of Charity. We got Say and like Cedrek out the paint. Like these are the sort of people that would hang around. And while we'd be letting go of more dynamic, more players that have a better chance of winning. And instead, these players have been like, no, how about we just get rid of those and just bravo.
No, look, if we get rid of Chrissy next week, then
I know I had the exact same thought, exact same person.
Because that's where it would go if we're following a pattern, honestly. If Final Destination is taking place here and it's hunting the least dynamic players, that's where it's going. Honestly, she would have gone before Say, but let's talk about Say because Say went first and thus missed being on the jury. Do you feel like that was the right choice? I mean, I feel like you're going to say yes because we've sort of discussed this, but for what
there's a
reason?
Difference between what we want to happen
Yes.
and whether it's the best decision for the players.
Yes. Vote-wise, for these groups, was this the best decision?
Still, yes.
Yeah.
And for the exact reason that it defined that you even led into. They were wise to keep her off the jury. Obviously, she's going to have to vote for somebody. But like if you're trying to play a different kind of game, if you're trying to play this more honorable, upright game, whatever. We'll get to that, right?
Yep.
The last thing you need is the first juror or an early juror being all like, fuck these bitches. They're not doing anything. Like she'd be a cancer on the beach. That's why you should just get rid of her early. I've been advocating it since the very first episode. She'd be a cancer on the jury. Frankly, even just for your own life, it's like, man, if you get voted out of a Survivor, one of the nice benefits at least is you can now like calm down, eat some, relax. Eat whenever you want to, maybe start to recenter yourself before you have to go to the world. You ain't doing any of that if she's in the jury house. No, they did a favor to everybody remaining in the game by making sure that she was on the next flight out.
Yeah. I agree with you, especially on the jury front. Like, I would personally like it if I were playing to have like some idea about a person where I could be like, okay, at least I can imagine that this person is, when they're on the jury, is going to care about this attribute or this behavior or something like that. Like, okay, I know what I should be aiming for to impress this person. Like with Say, I just feel like she just would be one of those like old school jurors that just wants to talk shit. And it's like, okay, great. Thanks. You can berate me all you want. Can I get your vote? What do I have to do for that part? So yeah, if that group had gone second, right? Like then I can maybe see not voting Say out because she's going to be on the jury anyway. Maybe you just like let her hang out because there's always another chance to vote her out. But again, because they were the first to go and there's the chance to have her avoid the jury, yes, take her out then.
And the other thing is, like, they set it all up like it's her or Mitch, right? Like, and we get both Joe saying it, we get Chrissy advocating it, that like Mitch is dangerous, right? Because he has proven to be pretty adept at these challenges. Check.
Right.
He strikes everybody as a nice guy. Check. I still don't think he would have been the other choice, positive choice, given what happens in this episode. Because the other thing that's happening is like, oh, what a social threat he is. They keep talking about that. I'm like, I can't check that box, man. This guy has no allies. Well, he hasn't for a while now. And the reason why you really know that he has no allies is because the one person you'd assume was his ally was the person advocating strongest that we should maybe vote him out in Chrissy, right?
Yep. His biggest allies gone last week. But the other thing is that like, within this episode, we got talk of like his story and stuff. And we've mentioned before how this is just a fucking mean game at its base, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea is what these people are saying in very coded language is like, man, that guy's got it too good in this game because his life outside of this game isn't that great. Like, oh, he seems too relatable, or like I would want to show compassion towards him. Ergo, I need to get him out of here. Like, it's inherently a mean thing to say, like, we got to get this person gone because of their story, right? But like, It's accepted because that is the structure of this game. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, that might be why you want to not have him get to the end. It's not why you got to get rid of him now. Like,
No.
if I'm like Joe and Eva making this decision, and you feel like you have Star on your side of your vote, so you have control of the votes, asterisk, so we can get to that a little later. What Chrissy's doing here and trying to throw Mitch under the bus and like coming to Joe specifically being like, oh man, he's such a threat. He's going to win challenges. People like him. If you're Joe and you're hearing this now, look, it echoes things that Joe was saying to us. So
yeah,
it's like, oh, so Chrissy is somebody who is going to backstab allies, is going to target challenge threats, and going to target people, the likable people with good stories.
Yep.
I don't want her around if I'm Joe.
You would think that might then be a red flag to him, right?
Yes.
Nope. It never led to any discussion of possibly voting Chrissy out, which I was like, all right, well, then if you're not going to have that discussion, it just better be say.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's what it was.
Right.
I think then Joe is giving the show what they want. Maybe even just kind of thinking out loud, that. Frankly, the conclusion he should come to is like, could Mitch be a shield for me? My thought is probably not. Like the only reason why, probably Chrissy isn't trying to advocate that we should go after Joe is he's, immune at this time. But yeah, Chrissy should have been the target if it not Say. But I think ultimately they're like, it's got to be Say, and we'll talk about other things, but it's Say, and good. Keep your eye on the ball.
Yep.
That's how players like Say become dangerous. Is people take their eyes off the ball all the time. It's like, oh yeah, but what if we do this thing though?
Right.
And then suddenly like Joe's voted out, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, because a lot of times you think like, oh, this is an easy vote. We can take out Say. But because it's such an easy vote, what if we did something crazy instead? Like, sometimes just do the easy thing, right? This was the easy thing for a reason.
But yeah, and then like, what do you get from Mitch? He's like, a guy looking for something, right? And we get that even before the split is happening. He's having these conversations. He's probably more likely a potential asset for Joe than a threat for Joe, right? And again, what really undersells this is the person you would have most suspected to still be his ally is the person talking to you about maybe we should vote him out.
Yep.
So like, even if you were worried that Mitch could be dangerous, it's like, actually, it really sounds like he's not.
Yeah, sounds like he's a bit on an island here.
Yeah, so let me scoop that up.
Right.
So you could fit into our good person strong alliance, Again, at the very least, if you're Joe, and again, I'm kind of centering it on him because people seem to like come to him like it was his decision. It's like, oh, he only still has one vote. I get that you can't vote him out, but it doesn't give him a super vote.
Right.
But maybe the conversations with like Eva and Star just weren't as interesting. Who knows? You don't want to strike the fuse of let's get rid of really nice honest people challenge threats at this point. Maybe keep the powder dry on that, at least one more vote, because if that becomes the rubric with which somebody becomes a threat in this game, well, who's next?
Right. Let's switch over to the other side because, as I said, that was the easy chalk vote, but Cedrek, was that the easiest chalk vote and was that the right choice for the people in that game?
So it was the easiest. Was it the right choice? Was it, and I guess maybe the answer, was it the optimal choice? I think it was the right choice, but I think that's because the possible optimal choice would have been too risky at this moment. So yes, I think, them thinking that like it would be really good to get rid of Shauhin is not wrong. Mm-hmm. Frankly, the previews for next week suggest that like this tenuous, let's just get rid of the goats thing isn't going to last very long. And, our heroes of the story, because this is who we're talking about. We're talking about Kamilla and Kyle, could be in danger, right? So, striking now. But what they do, and Kamilla and Kyle because they're amazing and I love them so much, is, they're like, well, let's see if there's a way we can kind of nudge it towards Shauhin by making it look like he's coming for us.
Right.
So I love that thinking. They didn't just be like, let's just flip it on him. Because like if they had just flipped it, well, now we're coming back with 10 people and Shauhin's allies are over there and you guys are over here on an island. So like just going for it because it's like we got to make a big move. We got this opportunity would have been the wrong thing.
Yeah, and we explicitly heard them saying it on screen that is what they were doing, right? Like that is the thought that they were putting into it. Is like, okay, we could try this, but if we're going to do this, here's how we cover ourselves. We have to say that he's coming from, like, they're thinking through the stories, and it's the same sort of thing where earlier in the season where they was just like, you had to believe there was this discussion from them like, okay, you're going to take my extra vote because here's what's going to happen. You're going to do this and this. Like, they're thinking through these things. And God, we love to watch competent Survivor play, right?
Oh.
And they're just fucking killing it. I'll quickly answer the Cedrek question, which was, yes, that was definitely in terms of entertainment value and gameplay value, that was the right vote for sure. I would have been disappointed if the vote went any other way.
I would have been disappointed to lose Shauhin, but if we had lost him, it would have been the result of a master ploy by like my favorite player, so I would have loved that too.
Right. But personally, I think even just from an entertainment perspective, like I liked this as laying the groundwork, right?
Yes.
Which, as you said, that seems like a good idea. I think they maybe would have made the move if they felt like they could have, but I think they tested the waters and were like, shit, it's not there. I'm not convinced. Back off, which again, brilliant. Like, don't force it. You'll have another shot. You can just, you've planted the seed, maybe come back later and water it, try it again. And
that's what I was getting at. Like the optimal ploy, I think probably would have been to get rid of Shauhin, but only if the other stuff had worked. Like,
yes,
it was the right decision to not just go for it. Test it out, see if this thing, planting the seed with David and making the idol, if that works, and then David comes to you is like, I think we need to go after Shauhin. That would have been great. And that probably would have been better for them than getting rid of Cedrek. But since that didn't happen, just take out Cedrek.
And I think I don't often get into the prediction game anymore, but if the preview for next week is to be trusted, my guess is that David ends up trying to turn on Kamilla, because it was specifically Kamilla that went and talked to David, right? So then, David gets back with the honorable bros and maybe mentions this, and then the story is like, oh, wait a minute, Kamilla said that about me? Like, how dare she? And then, then it turns on Kamilla. And at that point, our heroes they're going to have to ride or die together, right? Like it's going to have to be Kamilla and Kyle being like, shit, okay, well, can't just be these double agents for much longer. We actually have to like publicly work together, or at least to the best they can. I'm sure they'll try to avoid it, but regardless, they're going to have to work together to plot against this. And if they overcome that shit, again, I'm going to love it. I'm going to eat it up. That is exactly the sort of Survivor gameplay that I want to see, which is why I'm hoping it happens, even though it involves the risk of Kamilla being targeted, which would be devastating if the Honorable Bro Alliance succeeded.
Yeah. And the other thing, they test the waters by suggesting that maybe Shauhin has an idol, which is good in the circumstances. Again, you're working fast, you're not allowed to work with quick thinking. One reason why maybe it bounces back on her with David is, Shauhin seemed pretty concerned that like he was in danger in that tribal council, and he didn't play an idol. So that kind of suggests he probably doesn't have it. So,
yeah, I mean,
but I don't know if that like will fully backfire, because it's like she didn't just say he has an idol. It's just like we were looking, and then he wasn't with us. So like maybe like it's very plausible deniability and everything what she did.
Yes,
but just I don't know if that seed has as much life, unfortunately.
Right. Like I said, I envision that being like the precursor to what's going to happen next week, and I, as I said, I hope I'm right, even though it presents a potential risk to Kamilla. I feel like just Kamilla and Kyle have it, and they'll overcome that.
And it could be that like nothing about this is what blows back and makes her a target. She could just be the next on David's hit list of those, awful, deceitful puzzle makers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Stuff, right?
How dare those puzzle makers? So briefly, let's talk about something back at the other tribal council, because we're talking about the Honorable Bros, right? And the person that I'm least interested in, Chrissy, speaks up at tribal council. And she actually said, like, essentially, hey, you're going to have to backstab people eventually. And like, I'm not here to help you win. I'm not here to try to make the strongest people win. Like, I'd kind of like a shot at winning. What did you think of Chrissy's comments?
Great confessional, terrible location. What are we doing here?
I mean,
I'm here to lie and stuff, and then wait, but not tonight.
Right.
I don't know that you say that in front of people just like that.
And that was the funny thing is, like, absolutely, she's totally correct. Hey, you know when a great time to say that is? When it's just you and the cameraman. Like,
or like if you're trying to make an alliance with somebody, it's like, well, it's got to happen sometime. But I don't know that tribal council is the right spot.
Nope, not ideal.
And like, there's a lot of people online, both on our site and elsewhere, that are like, bravo. I'm like, really? Clearly, you guys actually don't genuinely care about Chrissy's success in this game.
Well, I mean, she's correct. But again, it's a matter of like, time and place do matter here.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like, the reaction is like these people, most people, a lot of people have like, viscerally, this honest people, strong alliance. And I get it. The whole, let's vote for the good people has always come off as like hypocrisy to me. I've never enjoyed it. Right. But it's also like, I think when David like was listing the sins that, we're going to fight against, a lot of people that comment on the internet about Survivor, like they saw themselves in that. Like, how dare? So they hear Chrissy doing this, like, bravo, preach, and it's like, it's actually really stupid what she's doing right now.
Yep.
And frankly, like, she should be the next target as a result. I see that you have like just come out right out and said, I'm going to be a lying, deceitful person. You already told me that you're going to vote against somebody who thinks they're with you.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is it's kind of bullshit. She's not actually trying to advocate in that moment to like go against the strong alliance, which to be fair to her, she might not know that alliance fully exists, right? But what she's trying to do is convince them to vote for Mitch, and that's the frustration she's speaking of. Because what we don't see her do at any point is try to take a shot at like Eva, right? So like. Yeah, so this is all her frustration that, that she's there to vote out Say instead of Mitch. It's not like, trying to rally the troops to find, like, we're, when we get back together, we're going to take on David and Joe. Like, I think she thinks of David as one of her main allies.
Yep.
So, like, as much as everybody's like, preach, sister, I don't actually think she's on your side. She just wanted to vote out Mitch.
Yep. Yeah, again, in a vacuum, but love the sentiment. But it's just... it as a Survivor strategic move, we just talked about how like great Kamilla and Kyle are at this. This is the opposite, right? Like,
there are seasons when that would have led to a live tribal.
Yes, when people standing up.
We just vote out Chrissy,
right? Like, man, she's just really. We should just go ahead and do it now, right? Like we were going to do it at some point. We should just go ahead and do it now. Yeah. Speaking of people's behaviors, though, so there were some people on our site and elsewhere who took some objection to how David was behaving at that challenge. Just really laying it on thick. I'm wondering if you had any problem with that.
You're probably not, but
I'm not really wondering. I have a decent hypothetical or a decent hypothesis here, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be fair to some of those people. It's like, you just don't like the guy and anything he does will bother you, right? Especially after his heinous comments about the puzzle makers of the world. That was the tamest, like, sports, like the trash talk ever. People just, I think, reflexively have issues with like people that are demonstrably good at things and are not afraid to show it.
So what, if I can try to turn those people's opinions around, right? Like the way I view him, right, is that David is essentially Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. Like, Kronk's obsessed with cooking. David is obsessed with milk. They're both hugely muscular himbos. Like, it just, when you view him that way, he's like a cartoon, and then it's just entertaining, which is why I found the challenge very, very entertaining. And as you said, the smack talk was not like...
It was so tame.
It was not belittling. It was just very much like, oh, yeah, you're like a little rubbing it in their face, but like not in like a again, you and I have been sports fans for a really long time, so we've seen and heard so much worse.
Yeah.
This was just kind of like bro, just so you know, I got you. And yeah, he was correct. He was
so correct. It wasn't like arrogant at all. It wasn't like, oh, there's going to be the come up. And it's like, no, it genuinely seems like this is not a challenge for him. Well, and frankly, it kind of seemed like he was being nice to them. It's like, you're just going to suffer in the end. You're still going to lose.
Well, that was the funny part is he was like, hey, just so you know, I'm good. Like, I'm not struggling at all. Like, and again, it could have been some psychological warfare, and to an extent it was, but also like it might have been a benevolent thing. Like, just so you know, you're gonna rip their skin on your hands up really badly. Like, I'm gonna win. You should just go ahead and give up. Yeah, and he would have been right.
So right.
Yeah.
And like people are like, oh, just doing it one-handed. It's like, oh, and obviously when he pulls, the screenshot that we use for the comments and he makes the pose and all of that. Yeah, like he's having some fun. He's playing, and all that. But it's also really wise if you can. Obviously, I never would.
Right.
If you can do it with one hand for a while, smart.
Sure.
The other hand's resting. Like, it's not just taunting. It's like a great way to do it if you have that ability. Joe did it sometimes too.
I think Kyle did and for a minute too, because he was like shaking his other hand off that was getting ripped apart.
But yeah, like it didn't move, man. Like it was not a struggle for him. And he's aware of that because, he probably works out some, I get the impression.
You think?
But yeah, no, it's like, and so when I see, again, some of that, the backlash is just these people don't like him and, then anything's going to bother you. I get that. The other part, though, as you kind of got into, is like, it's just a stark reminder of like how many, Survivor fans just are not into the sports ball at all. Mm-hmm. So like whenever there's things that are competitive, they get a little and it's like, wow, is it just like this is sports? And so, frankly, the only time I'll talk any kind of trash is when I'm like, I like the person, when it's friendly.
Yeah.
If I don't like a person, I'm just not going to say anything. Right. But yeah, it's like, I promise you, nobody there was taking any offense to what he was doing.
Nope. Yeah, Kyle didn't seem particularly offended.
No, and like if you found like what he was doing to be like just, bad sportsmanship, really arrogant, I hope you didn't like it when like Parvati was just standing on that, like holding the side of the log like it was nothing on that one challenge. It's like sometimes when you're good at things, you just are.
Yep. All right.
And one other note I'll just say for David is surprising, but bravo for him for being the person to point out this season, and maybe the first time ever, that we don't have to counter the vote of somebody playing their shot in the dark.
That's true.
They were starting to do that. Like, what if Cedrek plays a shot in the dark?
Like,
Shauhin obviously is not excited. It's like, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have a vote. Oh,
yeah.
And like that, it seems to happen every season where they're trying to work their way around that. There's people in comments and always it's like, the vote, they don't have a vote, don't matter. And like, I was like, well, because I think a lot of people have been talking that like, it doesn't sound like David's been like a 40 season watcher of this show.
No.
But he did enough homework of the recent seasons to like know that. So good on him. And then other things to challenge, like Shauhin doing the theme song was so great.
That was very good.
And the editing that they brought in and the needle drop.
Yes. Again, this show knows what it's doing.
Yeah. And then Kyle talking about he's going to cut to the commercial if you can. And then Jeff doing it on the spot.
Jeff's like, I'll do it right now. Fuck it. Again, seasoned professionals all around with this show. So good.
Yeah. And it was that stuff that made what was otherwise, a fairly basic episode, like, solid.
Yep.
Good one.
Yep. That's it. We got to stick with solid now, because I wonder how the reaction is going to be that we said solid instead of like, yeah, fine. Yeah, say solid, and then people are like, oh, okay. They liked it then. They're saying the same shit, but sure.
Or they'll be like, how dare you say this was solid?
Gosh, I can just picture it now. All right. However, we should move on to this week's top 3. Also, after we're done, I got some fan mail I want to discuss with you. But this week, I think we should do, I debated doing top 3 songs with like weird mouth sounds in them. Like I thought that was going to be a winner. But apparently you passed on that. I also debated, top 3 upper body exercises for Cedrek to do. But you shot that one down too, just not letting me live my full fantasy here.
Hey man, I'm not going to throw stones on that regard.
So instead, let's do top 3 songs about money.
Which, yeah, if people are trying to make the connection, nothing to do with this episode, everything to do with recent current events.
Yes. And I was going to try to just make up some bullshit reason that it was related, but no, you gave the game away. It has nothing to do with this episode. I did suggest, like top 3 sandwiches based on the peanut butter thing. Like that wouldn't be bad. We can get there maybe at some point. And we do have something in the fan mail, I think, that suggested something that I might like to get to. But for now,
I wonder if we did that though when like Austin was just obsessed about the sandwich that he missed out on.
We might have, because sandwiches are good, man. Like we probably would have discussed that. So if either of us had a memory,
although that might have been season before we did these top 3, so it's hard to say.
Me too. All right. So let's go ahead and start. Let's do some top 3 songs about money. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, for an honorable mentions, a song that like it would be in no way like one of my 3 favorite songs about money, but is the song I'm like first think of when you're talking about songs about money. In fact, it's often the song that would play in my head when I hear the word or read the word money. And that is For the Love of Money by the OJs. If you're not familiar, it's the
thought it was going to be
money, 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 money.
You said For the Love of Money. I'm like, oh, Bone Thugs? No.
Yeah, okay.
Nope, wrong one.
And then when I read the title of that song, I think about the Bone Thugs song. Yeah. But not even my favorite Bone Thugs song about money. That would be First of the Month. The song about, getting your welfare check at the first of the month.
First and 15th. That's right.
That's right. They made a Christmas carol about welfare. But yeah, now the one potential knock on the show is when I was doing the song. I was doing the research. I don't know this because I never watched the show, but people can confirm in comments. Possibly used as the theme song for The Apprentice, which was be very bad. Oh. But you know what? I'm not going to knock that against the OJs. That's not their fault.
I mean, they made some money by selling it to that show, so
seems appropriate.
See, mine. I figured this one deserves honorable mention because it's more about the absence of money, and it's the song "Po Folks" by Nappy Roots. It's just, it talks about how all their life they've been poor. And I'm like, no, I get you. I understand this. So a song about the absence of money is going to get honorable mention because all the rest of mine, spoiler, are about lots of money. So
yeah, and I tried to pick songs that were like explicitly about money.
Yes.
Instead of, like, oh yeah, I mean, that's about like, class issues or anything like that. It's like, no, money is what this one is about. And frankly, like the more money it's about than not. And one thing I did make it hard is like, that's describing like what, 70% of hip hop songs since 1996. Yeah. Yes.
Again, not to spoil my upcoming list, Andy.
With that in mind, I'll go with my number 3.
Sure.
Which really, I feel like it's kind of the flashpoint of that. It certainly kicked off the shiny suit era of hip hop. And that's Mo Money, Mo Problems.
That is also my number 3.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, by the Notorious B.I.G. Now, one, like, I did back and forth on my, like, do I put this? Because, like, the guy previously known as Puff Daddy is in this, now currently known as a monster who rapes people.
Right.
But, and then Mace is in it as well. And my thing is, I never liked P. Diddy's contributions to this song back then either. Like, if they wanted to make a cut of this song that excised his vocals, I'd be great with that. Because why this song is great is, A, Mace's verse, B, Big's verse, 3, the Diana Ross sample.
Yep.
None of which really has to do with Diddy other than, like, he would find the most obvious samples and build songs around them around this time.
Yep.
He'd take hits from the 80s and make them sound so crazy, as he would say. Like, he did not write his verse. He didn't write any of his verses. I doubt he even really produced it. He probably had ghost producers. So I'm not going to hold it against this song.
Yeah. The reason I have this one number 3, great song for all the things you just said, but the whole premise of the song, wildly incorrect. I can confirm this because, again, related to my honorable mention, having lived both lives, no.
You might not have had Mo enough.
I'm just saying it's a problem you'd rather have. If the problem is no money or too much money, pick the too much money. It's the better of the two problems. So that the central premise of the song, I was like, nah, there's lots of problems when you're poor too. So I'm gonna go with incorrect premise, but otherwise good song.
Yeah, and this kind of gets into my whole I explicitly about money and more about money than that, because like you could argue that Juicy is also a song about money, but I feel it's more about success,
Right?
And obviously money being a factor of success. So I didn't like because Juicy's a better song, but not on my list. Mo Money, Mo Problems, number
Right.
three.
Yeah,
I'll let you introduce one now that I kind of nabbed your number three.
No, it's fine.
Intro.
All right, so my number 2 is "Must Be the Money" by Nelly. Slightly problematic lyrics about being into teenagers, but that aside, just a
Maybe he was a teenager at the time.
No, he wasn't. I looked it up because I remember I listened to
at the
it.
time he wrote it, but I doubt they write these things that far in advance.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is like it came up one day on my playlist, and I'm like, I don't know that I want to hear Nelly. And I listened to the song, and I'm like, I did want to hear it. And then I like listened to some more Nelly, and then I was like, oh man, I don't know that I remember this. Like, how old was he when he wrote this lyric? And I looked it up, and I'm like, yeah, he was like 27 or something like that. And it's like he's talking about 18-year-olds, and I'm like, I
mean,
at least it was 18, like I guess give him that. He's got that on Drake, so but like, yeah, it was still mildly problematic. But aside from that, great song, and I very much enjoy it, and explicitly about the money.
Must be. All right, my number 2, just perfect for money, because who can you relate to more than like an incredibly rich band complaining about taxes?
Yes.
So I went with Taxman by the Beatles. There was a few different options for the Beatles about money, but this is the one, both because it's the best song of like at least 3 that I think of, but also just, I love that idea. It's like they got more successful, and it's like, you know what we're going to do? This is our fans are going to relate. We're going to talk about how much the taxes get paid away.
Yeah.
And I also like, in particularly, that they complain if 5% made seem like 5%. Are we complaining about 5%? What are we doing here now?
Yep.
Like, it's a marginal tax rate and all of that. And certainly, I don't like taxes. I pay quite a bit here. Now, again, I like getting things for taxes, but Taxman, number 2.
And listen, you know that I'm down anytime a song's going to talk tax policy. So yeah, excellent choice. All right, you want me to do my number 1, or you should do your number 1?
Well, I don't think I am, but there's a chance that I'm.
I don't feel like you're going to take it.
Okay.
I'm feeling safe. I'll be shocked if you got mine.
All right. Well, caveat emptor and all of that. I went with Cream by Wu-Tang Clan.
I see. I thought about Cream for an honorable mention, but it's my bias against Wu-Tang. Like they were fine, but they were just never it for me. But this song, like when I was thinking of songs about money, was near top of mind just because it's very catchy and it is very explicitly about money.
Yeah, I mean that's what the C stands for. Not money.
Nope.
Sorry. So cash rules it. No, like this song like changed my suddenly I got to form my identity around this when it came out. Like that's that was the first Wu-Tang song I'd heard because they weren't playing like Protect Your Neck up here in Canada. Basically I had to wait till they finally dropped one with a video that wasn't loaded with swears probably. And then this is my favorite band now, and I got to get everything Wu-Tang. So I would buy like all of their solo projects, even like the shittiest ones.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean the shittiest ones like
by this Killer Bees stuff
like
too.
The Capadonna one. I'm talking like like the Killer Bees like side like the side quest one, and I think by the time if he ever did one I was probably by then I had stopped, but so Killer Priest, he put out one, not even really a Wu-Tang member, but affiliated. That was hot garbage. But so this song really kicked that off. That was a big and probably my favorite Wu-Tang song as well.
I don't know that it'd be my favorite. Like I think we've discussed before that there's another Wu-Tang song or two that it might beat it for me. But mine, you did not steal my number 1. And mine, like okay, I wanted to say mildly problematic title this time, all right? But it happens to reference money twice within the title. And the song is Money Cash Hose by Jay-Z featuring DMX. First of all, like I said, Money's in there twice in two different forms. And then, it's got DMX in it. Also, fun fact, and I can't totally verify this, but I think it's the earliest iteration of Fuck Your Feelings in song form, which is hilarious given the group that has like co-opted that since then. And just, at the time, Jay-Z and DMX together, I was like, yes, Young John is into this shit. Let's hear this on fucking loops. And, is it slightly sexist, misogynistic? Yep, probably. Most of the 90s hip-hop stuff
in the
was.
90s, almost certainly.
Yep. But again, it very much fits the theme of this top three. So that's my number one.
I consider it a different Jay-Z song. I mean, again,
There's
most of his catalog
options.
would apply. Yeah. But I went with JD, Money and Anything. But.
Yeah, no. See, that mostly for me, because I was never a big Jermaine Dupri fan. So didn't make it my list. All right.
Yeah, and then I also considered just to like, play to my role here, like what people want to hear from me. Not like remotely true what would be my top three, but like if I had $1 million by Bare Naked Ladies, that would be, if I wasn't going to break kayfabe and just bring the countrymen in. But
yeah, I should apologize. Like, I realize mine was not a diverse list. I get that. Like, I swear I do listen to some other types of music occasionally.
Besides what hip hop released from 1995 to 1998.
Right, exactly. But it just, as you mentioned, so much of the music from that specific time period aligned with this mission that I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to lean into it. So, yeah, feel free to send us your top threes. You can do that on our website, purplerockpodcast.com, or you can use the fan mail feature and text us, which some other people did in this past week. And Andy, I want to regale you with some of the texts that we got. Number one, shout out to the person who, like a week after I said I enjoyed the ridiculous, like non sequitur texts that we get at times, sent, "We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty." Well done. I appreciated it. And yeah, that was also from a fellow Floridian. So shout out to you, sir or ma'am, or non-binary individual. I don't know anything about you. Another thing that I noticed is the fan mail this week very heavily into the concept of CanCon and or your Mormonism, Andy. And so when I discussed that last week, like, this is what people wanted to hear. Apparently that was not sarcastic. This was, people wanted to hear some CanCon talk, and they wanted to know about Andy's secret Mormonism. So we know we gave the people what they want. And so
what we're here for.
That's right. We got
put a quarter in the jukebox and you'll hear the song. We
got a text that said, "I think y'all would be surprised by the sheer amount of Coke/soda in general that Mormons drink. Andy, I'm sorry, but after this episode, I think dietary wise, you would fit right in with Mormons. And I find that absolutely hilarious." So
speaking of fitting right in with Mormons, I'm actually, this does not surprise me at all, because right around the time I was like 19, 20 or so, my live-in girlfriend was Mormon, and she drank Coke all the time. In fact, I actually think, now thinking back, that's probably why it's my favorite drink. Not like out of like nostalgia or anything. My wife listening right now, I promise you that's not it. But like, that's like, I think at the time I didn't have a preference for like soda, right? Like for colas. But she did. Coke. And fuck Pepsi, right? Because if you're going to betray, John Smith, got to go all the way.
Did she go? Never mind.
Again, I'll repeat the fact that she was my live-in girlfriend. So.
Yeah, sure. And I'll
so
repeat the fact that your wife is listening.
She's aware.
Yeah,
I actually have even more funny story about that.
Oh no,
maybe I'll share. Whatever.
No.
But yeah, so Coke is what we had, so that's what I got kind of hooked on. But yeah, so like I am well aware, repeating again, that like not all Mormons follow the tenets of their faith to the letter. I'll just say there was a lot of breaking of some of the tenets of Mormonism.
So
here's the fun story. I think my wife is pretty sure she ran into her once at work.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been funnier. Oh. Well, never mind. I'm not gonna...
And my wife was at the time a nurse who helped deliver babies.
Okay.
So
Thank
she
you
might
for-
have seen
Yep.
even more than
Yep.
I ever did.
Yep. No further comments, Your Honor. I will just
She like
move
came
on.
back from her shift and she's like trying to like find my photo albums, like get a confirmation picture. It was like, I'm sorry, I threw all of those out.
She's like, well, I didn't catch a good look of the face, but if you have any,
Those ones I did not take. It's pre-digital.
This has gone completely off the
Go
rails.
off the rails.
So we got another text. Let's just move on. Because we're gonna just delve into some dangerous territory if we keep playing around there. As a Canadian living in Florida, I just wanted to say that I appreciate the social commentary and the fact that no one is a secret Mormon. I listen for my own personal CanCon goals, obviously. P.S. Every time Andy talks, I picture him as Seth Rogen. Never correct me on this assumption. First of all, as a Floridian living in Florida, why are you here? You have another option. And secondly, I will never disavow anyone of the belief that Andy is essentially a Seth Rogen doppelganger. Like it's that now in my head canon, Andy is Seth Rogen. So that's just who you are now, Andy.
Yeah, and he and I share such affinity for certain things.
You're a big weed guy.
Canada.
Oh,
Yeah.
that too. All right. Last and certainly not least, heyo, super weirded out that Andy is so similar to my husband. He also doesn't drink alcohol by choice, nor coffee, and his favorite drink is Coke, but recently has switched to Coke Zero to hopefully be healthier. And because diet is gross. Me, I love pumpkin. Oh, hang on. Me, I love pumpkins, spiced lattes, because I'm basic or something. We live in Toontown. I appreciate the Can USA contrasting experiences you guys share. Thanks for giving some levity to my week. Cheerio, Michelle. P.S. Top 3 cereals sometime. A lot going on here. Number one, Toontown is a reference that you got, and I absolutely did not. Why don't you tell the non-Canadians what Toontown is?
Yes, that's a nickname for the city called Saskatoon, which here's another similarity. I used to pretend that I lived there. I never actually lived there, but I've been there several times. After college, after my Mormon girlfriend moved out on me, when she was living with me and my parents, but we had the basement. It was our space. My parents moved to Saskatoon. At which point I'm like, screw this. And I just moved back to Calgary where I had been living previously. But as this listener probably knows, as the other people don't know, Saskatchewan, the province in which Saskatoon is very conveniently placed, is they have government-run car insurance. So if you are a taxpayer in Saskatchewan, you can pay a very small fee to get car insurance. Whereas the province I live in, not at all. In fact, it's the highest car insurance in the country. So because I had an address, my parents had a house, I pretended to live there for like all through college.
We are getting so much Andy lore in this episode.
Yes.
Wait
till I get to the fur trapper stuff.
We're giving the people what they want. Also, Michelle, shout out to you for top 3 cereals as a potential list. I am a cereal fanatic. I think my cereals, however, would probably bore you to tears at this point because I have entered my dad's cereal era. Still, maybe we do that sometime. I don't know that you're a cereal
Maybe
guy.
it'll be a reward sometime, and it'll be organic to the show.
Oh.
Not that any of my favorite cereals are organic.
I was going to say organic cereal is right in that dad
I
cereal
figured
realm.
I said that. I'm like,
Actually,
I find a lot of your food choices boring. I mean, not horrific like the other person I tried to talk about. I'm like, fuck out of here with your healthy choices. That's not fun.
Yeah. But again, sort of similarly on this track, one of my favorite cereals happens to be both organic and Canadian, to the point that I researched this week. I'm like, oh shit, am I going to have to pay more for this soon because it's Canadian? Unclear, because apparently it's Canadian owned, but they grow stuff here or vice versa. And so I'm like, oh shit. How does that work? I'm going to stock up on it regardless, just in case.
Have you ever had to read French on the box?
No.
then it's not coming from Canada.
Sweet. Okay, that's encouraging. That means I can continue to get my dad's cereal.
Although maybe they probably package it differently for the U.S. even and ship it down.
Yeah, it could be.
Because I know like American companies have been shipping up here. If you go on our shelves, you got to bilingual it. I know this because as a part of my country, I speak what they call here in Canada cereal box French, which is, the words from the back of the cereal box that you used to read as a kid before we had phones. That would be the extent of my French.
That's probably even a little better than my French, which is going to be fun.
Much worse than your Spanish, though.
I mean, my Spanish is top notch. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to be in French Canada, so it's going to be fun to test my 5 words of French and a whole lot of gesturing. Because
make sure you pronounce it bonjour.
Bonjour. Come on, you can Americanize it better than that. Yeah, it'll be entertaining because I do remember the one and only time that I went to Montreal with my best friend when he lived in Vermont. We were like, let's go to Canada. Went to Montreal and sat down at a restaurant, and the server spoke in French to me, and I was like, what the oh my God. And I realized, that's right, we're in French Canada, and I knew nothing about what to say. And I looked down at the menu, and it was all in French, and I went, oh shit. And so luckily, through the series of gestures and broken English from the server, I was able to get across what I wanted to eat. Hopefully this time, technology has progressed enough. I can just use Google Translate or something. Yeah. Should fare a little better.
Either that, or if you bring a magnifying glass, you might be able to see the English print in Quebec, because they often have it on the sign. But through very escalating series of laws, it's the smallest.
Of course. I on one hand, I do appreciate the pettiness, and shout out to Bloc Québécois, because we should give, people love CanCon. We should give a quick Canadian elections update. The last thing that I saw, which I think you showed me, was Bloc Québécois has now entirely shifted and become Yay Canada, which is wild to me because the only thing I know about them is they've generally historically been hey, fuck Canada, we want our own country.
Yeah, they were formed as a separatist party. Obviously, they've been around long enough and they haven't done that. It's like a protest vote for Quebecers. But now there is one thing only that Canadians are interested in protesting.
Yep.
And he has united us from sea to shining sea to shining sea, because we have 3 of those.
Yes. Although one does it shine? It usually just freezes. I think.
Well, I imagine that makes it shinier.
Oh, it could be. That's true. All right. That's all for the fan mail this week. Keep them coming because I was entertained by those, particularly because who knew that the Mormon and CanCon content would get such discussion? You can click on, there's a little link in the description in this podcast, and you can just text us there. And maybe next week we'll read them on the podcast and respond to you there. Maybe at some point we'll talk about those top 3 cereals, and I will bore you to tears with my cereal takes. Until then, purplerockpodcast.com is where you can go. You can join our commenters. You can check up on fantasy scores, which I am trying to do every Monday. Sometimes I get lazy. It happens. But go to our website, interact with us. Please subscribe if that's a thing that you want to do. Anything else, Andy?
Hit the music.
This is the copyright